Swiss mountains, alpine meadows, Siberian forests, Arabic deserts. In the country of the Great Steppe, the country of romantics, brave trailblazers, strong by spirit people, conquerors of natural elements. Discover the new Kazakhstan with the program Extreme Routes. Extreme Routes. In today's program, trekking, ascending the tourist mountain peak. Since ancient times, the mountains inspired men with awe and delight. In their peaks were considered the abode of gods. The route of our program today is truly extreme, because we are going to conquer the peaks of the Zyli Alatau. Zyli Alatau is the northern range of the Tian Shan, 400 kilometers long. The central part of this ridge rises between the Kombel passes in the west and the Amanjol in the east. In this section, the height of the peaks reaches 5,017 meters above the sea level. Today we're going to ascend a tourist peak. This mountain is in the Bolshoy Almatinska Big Almaty Spur. The ascent to it lies along the northern slope from the Zhusali Kesem Pass, according to the assurances of our guide. It is the shortest and relatively easy way to the top point. For beginners like me, this layout sounds more than positive. Our journey will start from the observatory with a fairly solid height of 3,300 meters. Our team has existed for many years. We are engaged in all kinds of extreme sports, trekking, snowboarding, and mountain hiking. We are trying to promote active tourism in Kazakhstan. The first experience of conquering the mountains for Sergei Ivanovsky began with a spontaneous walk. In jeans and sneakers, he went to one of the most beautiful peaks, Peak of Furmanov. He returned from the hike barely standing, with fatigue on his feet, but with a clear understanding that the mountains became an integral part of his life. It takes your breath away, delight, and that's all. After such ascents, you fall in love. Today, Sergei is a professional mountain guide. He knows every trail in the Almaty region. He gathered a team of professionals, like-minded people who poetically call themselves Adrenaline Silence. They will bring us today to our first peak. Today we will go to the tourist peak that's at 3,954 meters. Super! We will reach the observatory 3,340 meters, and from there, the hiking route will take 4 hours. Trekking, in other words, hiking, is not only a systematic movement along the route, it is a rich journey in the cognitive plan, familiarity with natural and historical monuments. Trekking is a unique opportunity to see your country from the inside, with its unique culture and traditions, away from the hustle and bustle of big cities. So the group has gathered. We are ready for the ascent to the tourist peak. The height is 3,954 meters, category 1A. Good luck! To the cars. On the highest mountain road in Kazakhstan, we're heading to the launch point. In fact, even the path itself enraptures you. The view from the window to the Alma-Arasan tract is not just bewitching, it even makes you nervous a little. Here you have serpentines and narrow stripes bordering steep rocks and sharp turns. Height differences in general, off-road cars help us. Alma-Arasan Mountain Gorge is located in the southwest of the southern capital. It is located at an altitude of 1,780 meters on the northern slope of the Trans-Ili Alatau. In the vicinity of the spruce forest, a variety of herbs and shrubs grow. The mountain river Bolshaya Almatinka flows through the tract. A well-known Alma-Arasan thermal radon sulfur springs have become a real highlight of the picturesque area. 16 healing springs were found on the slopes of the gorge. On their basis, in 1931, a popular balneological resort was established. You just need to go and enjoy, because nowhere else you can get such emotions as here in Kazakhstan. I like that here you can get almost any climatic zone. In other words, you want a glacier, here it is. You want a desert? Please. There is everything. We passed most of the way, but decided to make one small stop. It is just impossible to pass by the pearl called Big Almaty Lake. The amazing combination of snow-white gray mountains and blinding sun, turquoise water, and the age-old green pines on the background of ringing silence causes a feeling of total delight. which attracts many tourists. On the way to the observatory, we decided to stop by on the famous high mountain lake, BAO, or Big Almaty Lake. Very beautiful. The sun is coming out. In the morning, there was a little snow. Now the sun came out. We have half an hour for a stop, look and admire, and we have a lot of time. We're on schedule. We'll have time to ascend to the peak. It cannot be called big. The length of the coastline is only 3 kilometers, the depth is up to 40 meters, and the widest place is 1 kilometer. But everyone who has ever been near the Big Almaty Lake left his or her heart there forever. Beautiful and clean, it enchants with its beauty and stunning panorama. Right above the lake towers strict, like guards, snow peaks of the Zylai Alatau. In good weather, the severe mountains and a high sky are reflected on the ghostly surface of the lake. Mountaineers say that the nature of the lake is very soft and volatile. The water is like the mood of a beauty, constantly changes color from turquoise blue to emerald. And depending on the season, the depth of the BAO changes. In winter, it becomes shallow, and by August, the water level rises by almost 20 meters. One of the most picturesque places in the vicinity of Almaty is Big Almaty Lake, or simply BAO. The height reaches 2,511 meters above sea level. Like most of the lakes of the Tian Shan, it arose as a result of earthquakes. Above the BAO, there are 3 main peaks: Saverov Peak behind me, Ozerna Peak just beyond the pass, and Tourist Peak, which we're going to ascend today. Here are the gates. We reached the place. It seems that everyone is ready. Well, we'll leave cars here and go up. A little snow fell. Winter is short here. Everybody's here? Onward and upward. Or better to say, forward to the stars. We almost got close to the favorite place of scientists, amateur astronomers, and tourists. The observatory was founded in 1957 and operates today. Now it is carrying out projects to study the particles of cosmic radiation. It is located at the Joly Pass at an altitude of 3,336 meters above the sea level. This is 1 kilometer above the Big Almaty Lake. It's pretty cold and it's snowing, so we had to wrap up in layers. It is from here that we officially begin our ascent. Those who think that hiking is boring and tedious certainly never did mountain trekking. Of course, this is more than just a hike, and that's its main charm. Fans especially appreciate it as an opportunity to quietly enjoy the beauty of nature and to meet with obstacles that have to be overcome independently, because trekking is also a sport. And you really take risks. You really see all this beauty here. You face some difficulties, problems. You learn to survive even some other ways. And this is really so, especially in our mountains. And this changes you. You become a different person. Tough, strong, the nature of a person changes. In order to do trekking, it's enough to have comfortable clothes, strong shoes, a big backpack, and readiness for impressions. Being in the mountains is to be in solitude with nature, communication with wild animals, because it is also very beautiful. Well, and to some extent, this is immersion in the world of ancestors, because the mountains exist for millions of years. This is very interesting. I mean, how our ancestors lived. When you go on some difficult route, you get to live differently than people live in the civilization. The history of trekking as a sport began in the capital of the Republic of Nepal, Kathmandu. This type of hiking was discovered by British citizen Boris Lizanovich. In 1949, trekking as a kind of sports hiking was included in the All-Union Sports Association. And in 1970, the first competition for the best trekking campaign was held. Here's the first difficulty that every beginner will have to face. Only 20 minutes passed from the beginning of hiking and my breath is already starting to go astray. I'm looking for Sergey and immediately, with a grain of envy, to myself note he's cheerful and merry, not out of breath even. Physical training must be mandatory. I mean, in the mountains there's always extreme, no matter whether it is mountain trekking, mountaineering or anything else, because many factors affect the passage of the route. This can be both weather conditions or rockfall. When a person enters the mountains, he has to fight against nature, a force incomparable with a human. The mountain, easy for climbing under local conditions, becomes very difficult and dangerous in bad weather. Rain, fog, storm, thunder, darkness. The list can also be supplemented with rockfalls, avalanches, and snowy and icy slopes, as well as hidden fissures and glaciers. Fog. Get lost in the mountains. Rockfall. It is easy to get lost in the mountains if you do not know the path. You can easily get lost. When you go to the mountains, you always tell your family, friends where you go, the approximate time of departure and the approximate time of your return. If you have not come back by the time you told them you will be, something has happened to you. It is necessary to look for you. Well, the traces of civilization are left behind. We are surrounded by mountains. The bag is heavier and heavier. It is time to turn for a couple of tips to our guide. Sergey, so how can you preserve your strength? The way is really long. When you go to the mountains, good trekking boots are needed, especially as now we have snow lying. We need a good protector, and the boots need to be higher so as not to slip, because when a slope is steep, you can slip away pretty seriously. It happens. You need to know this and be ready for it. You also need flashlights. As you see, I have flashlights on my feet. You need them when there's a lot of snow. They're also called shoe covers, so that snow doesn't get inside and feet do not get wet. In your opinion, how do you evaluate my image today? Am I not prepared? You're not well prepared, but on the whole, you can reach the peak in such clothes. It is desirable that the boots are slightly higher. Now I'll tell you how to walk to the mountains correctly. We need trekking sticks. Now we'll assemble them. I'll tell you how we set the length. Our principle must be 90 degrees. When we walk on a level surface, 90 degrees. Now we're standing on a slope. At all times, hands should be at the level of your elbows, and the level changes depending on the surface. Going down respectively, a longer length is needed because you go down the slope. Going up, it's on the contrary. It should be shorter. The higher the rise, the shorter the stick. But all the time, the principle stays the same, 90 degrees. And we do not go directly straight, because it takes extra force. Now we're on the rise. It is understandable nothing is complicated, and when a long series weighs ahead, it is important to go sideways. What sideways? Going from one side to another like a snake will help you bypass some of the basic obstacles and stones. That is, we see stones, we get around them. If you see it, it may be unstable. It's better to check it, because there are moving stones that could get slipped under your feet and you will roll and go down with it. The route in the trekking is divided into several categories. Local obstacles and geographical indicators of the region are taken into account here. Depending on these conditions, hiking tours are divided into the following types. Weekend hikes assume the passage of uncomplicated trails, and hikes with various degrees of complexity, lasting up to 20 days. I'll tell you about the safety in the mountains. As you see here, these are big stones, and they have the property of rolling down. They are called living stones. What should I do if I catch a rockfall? Stones begin to fall. We need to look for a shelter. Let's say one of the options. Here we see a hollow where you see the trajectory does not fall. You need to hide behind such a stone, sit down, or look for some cave, because if a stone fall happens, you could just get buried right here. I'm the chief on the campfire in the team. If I go on a camping trip, then I put myself in such a duty. In any weather, even if it's raining, like cats and dogs, I make fire and I make tea. Vladimir was carried away by the mountains as a student. Small one-day walks for mushrooms and raspberries were a fun hobby for him until he met Sergei at a forum of mountain lovers. So a new world of conquering the wondrous peaks opened for him. For a person who hikes, amateur of mountain trekking, every trek is extreme. When I went once on a hike in the mountains, I decided that the simulators and mountains are completely different, and the mountains give much more load than the gyms. Well, we're done with the tea. We received all the instructions, so it's time to go further. So more or less sloping part of the route is overcome. Now the most difficult part begins. Melted snow turned the road into a baggage. Almost every stone under your feet is a living stone. Step on and it moves and rolls away. Stop every 10 seconds to catch your breath. Forces spend your power wisely. Not only on the rise but also during the struggle with slippery surface. It's very hard and truly extreme. You are so tired when you ascend for the first time, you fall on this mountain, and you have no emotion. Your emotion is nothing, that is emptiness. But when you are already aware that you have passed everything, you are happy. To be honest, I wanted to surrender every 10 minutes of our journey. After 1 hour, you don't notice the surrounding beautiful nature any longer. You think only about the end of this. By the time I realized that I used up my last breath, an incredible thing happened. Here, Dina, we have arrived. Hooray! I did it! Congratulations on your first mountain, as mountain climbers say. And here 3 kilometers of difficult path are behind. To say that it was hard is to say nothing. However, our efforts are rewarded in full because the view is simply amazing from the tourist peak, which is only 46 meters short of the 4,000 square meters. The mountains of Almaty are relatively young and, like the great Himalayas, are still growing. Studying Joly Alatau began in the 30s of the 20th century. In the 40s, the training bases for mountain shooters operated here, so many peaks in the immediate vicinity of the camps bear the names of wartime nominees: Partizan, 28-pound full of guardsmen, Monshik Mametova, Zoya Kosmodemyanskaya. There are also more poetic names like Cold Feathers, Peak of Christmas, Karaushitau, Kazakh Fort Guardian. This year was very popular for trekking and whole season was busy. A lot of foreigners came over. They're delighted not only by the mountains but also by the authenticity, that is in general our country, our traditions, Kazakh hospitality. They like it here a lot. People are happy and say they will definitely come back. The mountains for me have become a guide to the world of adventure and some special correct stubbornness to reach the end. The ascent to the top is a small victory over yourself and a great test for strength. Mountains give not only, in all senses, high impressions, but also a feeling of incredible silence, unity with nature, and infinite freedom. But first, you must earn it. Our film crew follows the numerous routes of sports tourism, the routes of which run through the mountains and steppes, forests and deserts, landscapes of our country. Join us. Kazakhstan is even more interesting with us.